Good day. Welcome to News Now on TV360. I'm Thelma Ukuru. The World Bank has donated $200 million to the Nigerian government in support of the fight against insurgency and provision of humanitarian support for people displaced in northeast Nigeria. The Boko Haram insurgency has led to the loss of more than 20,000 lives, with over 2 million others displaced and properties worth millions of naira destroyed. The contribution will help restore livelihoods to those in the northeast, as well as provide food and rehabilitate roads in that region. The Nigerian government has unveiled a new immigration policy to curb terrorism and other trans-border crimes in the country. Minister of Interior Abdurrahman Dambaza, while unveiling the document in Abuja, said the document would also fast-track the ease of doing business here in Nigeria. According to him, the approval would help the federal government also monitor and check the movement of terrorists through Nigerian borders. He explained that the new document empowers the Nigerian Immigration Service to properly register all foreigners, protect the borders and enhance internal security, as well as attract foreign investors using the latest technology. The Federal High Court in Abuja has granted Andrew Yakubu, the former Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, bail in the sum of 300 million naira. Yakubu, who has spent 4 days at the Kuje prison, is also required to present 2 sureties before he can be released by the court. He was accused of failing to disclose the sum of $9.7 million and £74,000 to the EFCC in his asset declaration form.
It is within the constitutional power of the courts, and the court has decided the justice of the matter by granting bail. But the conditions for bail, to my mind, is very appreciable. We are very ready. Actually, as a matter of fact, if they say I should come back tomorrow, I'm ready. My witnesses are ready.
We give glory to God that it's almost 2 months now he has been in detention, and the court has looked at the law and has found it legal to admit him to bail. So, subject to conditions. So all I need to say is just that we give glory to God.
The Nigerian police force says 46 people were killed following the recent ethnic clash in Ile-Ife, Osun State. Police spokesperson Jimoh Moshood said 20 of 38 suspects initially arrested for their alleged roles in the mayhem which broke out on March 8 will be prosecuted. He dismissed reports that police conducted indiscriminate arrest of residents in the town. A group in Nigeria has asked international organization Amnesty International to leave Nigeria within the next 24 hours. The group, known as Global Peace and Rescue Initiative, barricaded the Abuja office of Amnesty International to drive home their demands. They are protesting against a recent report released by Amnesty International, which alleged human rights abuses by Nigerian security forces. Amnesty International, in its latest report, alleged that 240 people, including infants, died in a military detention cell in Borno State in 2016, while 177 pro-Biafran agitators were killed in the same year by the Nigerian military. The military has, however, since denied the claim.
We have therefore decided to help ourselves in saving our country from destruction, lifting, and from its destroyers. It is on this note that we ask Amnesty International to quietly leave our country today, within the next 24 hours, immediately. It must close down its operation and take its staff out of Nigeria without further delay. While leaving, it should feel free to take its Boko Haram members and other criminals it has been demanding and go with them to the UK or anywhere. In the next 24 hours, sir, Amnesty International has not, if Amnesty International has not shut down its operation in Nigeria and leave the country, we shall begin a 5-day Occupy Nigerian international protest as we first warn. Let us warn at this point that there will be no interval of respect if Amnesty International fail to leave Nigeria. At the end of the 5 days, we shall activate another more profound and active option to make the nation leave Nigeria.
A non-governmental organization in Nigeria is working in support of the fight against corruption embarked upon by the federal government. The group, named the Million March Network, marched from Yaba to the Ganifaomi Park on Tuesday.
Well, all the way from Yaba to Ojota, this march is very symbolic because Nigerians are taking corruption with kid blows. And some of us who have been in the fighting of corruption over 20 years have been waiting for an opportunity, a moment, a time that we can come nationally or internationally and talk about corruption. And we think that this is the time when so many things are unfolding. One of the issues that necessitated this was some weeks ago, millions of naira were discovered in a mud house in Kaduna by Yakubu. And we now found out that in CNN, international newspapers, online fora, you found out that Nigerians that have stocked their money in international banks, stupendous amount, that if you bring it in this country and change it from pounds, sterling, dollars, and Dutch mark, the poor masses will have money to feed.
Anybody saying it's not going the way it should go must recognize that we have a government in power, and that government has the mandate of the people, and that mandate is derived from the Constitution. It is not unnatural for people to be dissatisfied about government activities. So if anybody feels it's not going the way it should, it behoves on them to engage the government constructively, rather than trying to run down the campaign or the war against corruption, because we don't expect that in a society everybody will be on the same page. There must be a multiplicity of voices or reasoning. Like we say in our local language, we all cannot sleep and think in one direction. We must have dissenting views. But one thing we are very, very comfortable about is that we are very much in tune. We are aligned with the fight against corruption by this government. Whoever feels the fight against corruption is not going his or her own way, has a duty through the representatives in the National Assembly to proffer solutions to how they want the battle to go. But people talking about selectivity, I don't think they are being fair.
There's no crown that did not go through a cross. We must go through this pain. This pain is something that we've been awaiting for a long time. And thank God, if our fathers have been fighting this fight, by now it would have been good for me, it would have been good for my children. That is why somebody needs to start from somewhere. And thank God he has given us somebody like Buhari, who has started from somewhere to create a structure. Because corruption is like a cancer. It's eating the fabrics of this nation.
Nigeria's electoral body INEC has commenced preparations for the 2019 elections. Mahmoud Yakubu, chairman of the electoral body, says early preparations will make the process of election go smoother and successful. He says INEC is set to partner with the Nigerian media to ensure that the campaign for early elections is effective.
We cannot continue to be masters of the last minute. We cannot continue as a nation to be masters of the fire brigade. As our democracy matures, we should be moving from uncertainty to certainty. And once the nation knows the date for the next general election, it is easier for all of us to plan. The Electoral Commission requires time to plan. The media also requires time to plan. You have to raise the necessary resources. Sometimes this is overlooked, to deploy in the field. The Broadcasting Organization of Nigeria needs time also to prepare the presidential debates, and it's a big assignment. We reckon that 2019 is going to be another year full of elections for the Commission. We are going to have the general election, and if I may give you an idea of what a general election is in Nigeria, It means one presidential election nationwide constituency. We have 29 governorship elections because 7 elections are now staggered. They are not done at the same time as the others. We have 109 senatorial constituencies, 360 federal constituencies, 991 state constituencies. And in 2019, the 3-year tenure of the FCT area councils will come to an end, meaning that INEC will have to conduct elections in 2019 into 68 constituencies, 6 area council chairmanships, and 62 councilorships. And then, believe it or not, the Bayelsa and Kogi governorship elections are coming up at the end of 2019. The 4-year tenure is almost around the corner. So we are going to have 1,560 constituencies to conduct elections in.
Meanwhile, INEC has confirmed that no fewer than 7.8 million permanent voters' cards (PVCs) are yet to be collected since the 2015 general election. The body confirmed this at the media parley held in Abuja.
You know, election is essentially based on a number of parameters, one of which is the quality and credibility of the voter register. The voter register is central to elections. Now, since the 2015 general elections, we have been trying to see if we can tidy up, clean up the voter register. For instance, by removing the names of the deceased from the register. Now, this is easier said than done because sometimes you may know that a person is dead, but the procedure for removing the name is not that simple. So we need to clean up the voter register, but we need to proceed cautiously. But associated with that is continuous voter registration for Nigerians who have come of age, and then for those who wish to relocate. You know, the law says that you vote where you are registered.
The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, says it will generate about 4,000 megawatts of power in the next 10 years to boost power supply in the country. NNPC Chief Operating Officer of Gas and Power, Saidu Mohammed, made this known in a statement. Mohammed says the corporation would achieve this by building independent power plants over the next 3 to 10 years. The Ahmed McCarthy faction of the People's Democratic Party has described as shocking and embarrassing a recommendation by the Reconciliation Committee led by Governor of Bayelsa State, Sariki Dixon. Dixon had, in his recommendation, advised the faction to resign in obedience to an appeal court ruling which upheld Ali Modu Sheriff as chairman of the party. Meanwhile, National Chairman of the PDP, Ali Modu Sheriff, has said he would set up a committee to start planning the party's national convention. Members of the Justice Department and Peace Commission have staged a rally to discourage Nigerians planning to embark on an illegal migration to Europe. The practice has become so common here in the country that the group is calling on people to think twice before they begin the journey. Recently, the Nigerian government admitted that over 700 Nigerians had voluntarily returned in 3 months after meeting with the harsh realities associated with this type of journey. Now addressing journalists after the walk, the group has also called on the government to put an end to the illicit business of migration.
You have like 3 major crimes that enrich people's pockets, and they include human trafficking, drug use or drug abuse, and arms deal. And it's a very, 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 very real evil in our world. And interestingly, it will interest you to know that human trafficking seems to have edged its way to the top. from organ donation to forced labor to prostitution and every form like even domestic child labor on the streets. Interestingly, a lot of people begin to think that trafficking has to do with taking children only outside the country. But you will also be interested to know that that accounts for only 2% of the trafficking that takes place in Nigeria.
And so we find ourselves in the 21st century with all its science and technology, with all its education and sophistication, going back hundreds of years ago to the primitive way we carried on in terms of, trafficking in human persons, slave labor, and some of those things that debase the human person. And we say no, that the rest of the world cannot be sleeping while these atrocities, these evils continue. And so what we are doing in collaboration with various organizations, civil society, is to ensure that we continue to bring things that really truly matter, the life, violence, and so on, that will bring it to the fore to make people aware of the dangers of the kind of violence we have in the society and indeed in the world.
First and foremost, the number of people who are being trafficked internally and the number of people who are being trafficked outside this country is so monumental that only few people can imagine it. Now, in Italy alone, there are 75,000 girls from Nigeria in prostitution. Now, every part of the world, if you go to Libya, you see the risk people take wanting to cross the deserts. Now, if you go to all these Maghreb, so many people are there trapped trying to cross the desert. People don't know about it. People are talking of the main reason for this is governance deficit and greed of some people.
Corruption not in my country.
Mr. John! Mr. John! What is it now?
What is it now?
Please turn down the volume of your music. It's too loud.
And how is that your business?
It is disturbing me. I can't sleep.
And the same way you are disturbing my right to good music and where I enjoy it. What's wrong with you? Is any other person complaining?
Maybe we thought that you have lost your mind. Are you having a party?
I'm just respecting you, sir. You remember I paid my husband too.
You will not understand why we are complaining because you do not care about other people except yourself. Look, the transformation we need in this country begins in this compound.
Yes, now.
From you and I. This your selfishness is an offshoot of corruption. And corruption
not in my country.
Go to your bank. Go.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome back. It's now time for business news with Fidelia.
Thanks, Thelma. The Central Bank of Nigeria CBN Monetary Policy Committee has decided to retain the country's benchmark interest rate at 14%. The CBN also decided to leave the existing cash reserve ratio for commercial banks at 22.5% and the liquidity ratio at 30%. This is the fourth time in a row the CBN has decided to leave all rates at the same level. The Apex Bank's decision comes weeks after Nigeria's inflation rate recorded its first reduction in 15 months. The MPC says inflation was down year on year, but the food index rose in February from figures recorded in January, mounting pressure on consumers.
Members welcomed the improved implementation of the foreign exchange policy that resulted in the Naira's recent appreciation. Similarly, committee expressed satisfaction on the release of the Economic Recovery and Growth Plan and urged its speedy implementation with clear timelines and deliverables. On the strength of these developments, committee felt inclined to maintain a hold on all policy parameters. Nevertheless, committee noted the arguments for tightening policy, which remained strong and persuasive. However, the counterfactual arguments against loosening was anchored on the upward trending month-on-month inflation and its impact on the exchange rate. Loosening will thus worsen the already negative real interest rate, widen the interest rate spread, and reverse the positive outlook for the current account position. The MPC, however, noted that loosening will exacerbate inflationary pressures, worsen exchange rate, and further pull the real interest rate into negative territory. Since interest rates are sticky downwards, loosening may not necessarily transmit into lower retail lending rates.
The CBN governor also maintained that the bank will continue to intervene in the foreign exchange market. He says the current intervention has yielded positive results, and as long as the foreign reserves continue to grow, the bank will keep pumping money to sustain the value of the naira.
We've seen the rates now converging, and we are strongly optimistic, very, very optimistic, that the rates will converge further. In terms of sustainability, I think it's important for us to say that reserves at this time still trending upwards to almost close to $31 billion as I speak with you. And the fact that we have done this consistently for 4 to 5 weeks should tell everybody, or those who doubt the strength of central bank to sustain this policy, for me to say that they are taking a risk and they will lose in this bid to want to place a wrong bet on the direction that we are going.
AMCON has sold Keystone Bank to a consortium of local investors called Sigma Gulf Nigeria Limited and Riverbank Investment Resources. In a statement, the Asset Management Company of Nigeria, AMCON, says the consortium had been picked out of 18 local and international bidders in a sale coordinated by Citibank and FBN Capital. Keystone Bank was the last of 3 banks merged following a $4 billion CBN bailout in 2009. Oil prices rose on Tuesday, helped by expectations that OPEC-led output cut would be extended beyond June. Brent crude was up 36 cents at $51.98 a barrel, while U.S. crude rose 31 cents to $48.53 a barrel. The Organization of the Petroleum Exporting Countries and some non-OPEC producers agreed to curb production from January 1st by 1.8 million barrels per day for 6 months. The agreement is to drain crude from record stockpiles. OPEC sources have indicated the group's members increase in favor for an extension, but want the backing of non-OPEC producers, which have yet to deliver fully on existing reductions. Well, that's all on business. More stories coming up. Don't go away.
That was a very good business. Yeah. The furniture you brought was very perfect.
But that's how we roll.
Because let me do you receipts.
Yeah. How much was it again?
1 million naira.
Okay, write 2.5.
Mbano. The deal was for 1 million naira now.
Okay, write 3 million. I'll give you 500.
Oh no! I don't do business like that now. Yeah.
In that case, give me back my check. Let me go and look for someone that understand business.
Take.
Your loss.
It is only for incorruptible customers. What are you talking?
Now get that.
What kind of this?
You will just die.
No,
you will die.
That is the door. Now get out from here.
Rubbish.
Look, my people. Make una only add money for original invoice price. That's not corruption. Say no. Not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
At least 26 people have died from hunger in the Jubaland region of southern Somalia. Somalia is facing a devastating drought that has killed livestock, cut harvests and left 6.2 million people, which is about half of its population, in need of food aid. One of Ghana's top tourist sites has been closed indefinitely after a deadly freak accident over the weekend. At least 18 people died in the accident, which occurred on Sunday. The victims died after a large tree fell on them at the Kintampo waterfall in central Ghana. Most of them were high school students swimming in the river. President of the Nigerian Football Federation, Amaju Pinnick, says plans are ongoing to get more space for African teams in FIFA competitions. The newly elected executive member of the Confederation of African Football confirmed that the number of teams in CAF competitions would also be increased. On the development of football in Nigeria, he gave assurance that Nigerian referees would be given their pride of place in the Committee of Nations during his tenure. Leicester City striker Jamie Vardy says he and his family have received death threats since Claudio Ranieri was sacked as manager of the club. The 30-year-old blamed hurtful and false accusations he influenced the club's decision to sack the Italian coach. Ranieri was sacked in February this year, which is 9 months after winning the Premier League for the club. Well, that's it on News Now. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Thelma Okoro.